Okay, so this was given to me, sent to me by a member of the forum, and it's Department of Justice doubles down on claim that medical cannabis patients endanger public safety if they own guns. Now, this is a hot topic in the United States, and it's very confusing. But well, let's take a look and see what they're talking about here. The Justice Department is doubling down on its position that medical cannabis, the medical cannabis patients who possess firearm endanger public safety, pose a greater risk of suicide, and are more likely to commit crimes to fund their drug habit, justifying in the government's eyes a federal ban on gun ownership by cannabis consumers.
Oh my gosh, man. Wow.
Yeah, does this sound a little bit like 1960s, 1970s hype? You know,
Yeah.
Cannabis users are going to commit crimes to fund their drug habit. Hello. I don't think that's happening. You know, if it's happening, it's not happening very often. I guarantee you that. So following a U.S. Supreme Court ruling last month that upheld the constitutionality of governments setting certain gun restrictions in a case centered around domestic violence related prohibitions, the justices remanded a pending cannabis and Second Amendment rights case back to a lower court for reconsideration. Late last week, plaintiffs and the Department of Justice submitted briefs in separate cases that responded to the potential implications of the High Court's latest decision of a federal statute barring gun ownership by cannabis consumers. In the filing submitted by the U.S. Court of Appeals in the 11th Circuit, Department of Justice urged the panel to affirm an initial district court ruling that deemed that cannabis and firearms ban to be constitutional, while appellants are requesting a reversal of the order. And the latest development in the 2-year case, with a group of Florida medical cannabis patients arguing that their Second Amendment rights are being violated because they cannot lawfully buy firearms so long as they are using cannabis as medicine, despite acting in compliance with state law. Now, this was started back a while by an official in Florida. It says former Florida Agricultural Commission Nikki Fried, who now serves as chairwoman of the Florida Democratic Party, first raised a lawsuit against the Department of Justice in 2022 in her capacity as a state official. She's no longer party to the lawsuit since leaving office, and her GOP successors have declined to get involved in the background of this case. Voters in the state are set to decide on a broader recreational marijuana legalization initiative on the ballot in November. Armed drug users endanger the public in multiple ways, the Justice Department said. And its new filing in cannabis and guns case, adding that the Supreme Court ruling in the United States versus Rahimi demonstrated that governments can afford significant leeway to enact firearm regulations. Individuals who possess firearms while engaged in regular use of illegal drugs endanger public safety in multiple ways. Now, it says first, drug users may mishandle firearms, use firearms to commit crimes because of drug-induced changes in psychological functions, cognitive ability, and mood. Now, right there, when I was going through this article, I wrote something in here. It says individuals who possess firearms while engaged in regular use of illicit drugs endanger public safety in multiple ways. And I had big parentheses right there. I said, what about hemp users? Because this is a real thing here in the United States. The 2018 Farm Bill has basically made most cannabis legal in this country federally because of the Farm Bill. So if I'm not buying quote unquote marijuana and I'm buying quote unquote hemp, am I now in violation of the law? I'm not really sure about that one, you know, because there are states that are selling, I mean, exactly what you can buy as flower in Colorado. They're being sold in prohibition states under the name of hemp because of the THCA rule that exists within the law.
Is there any other medication? I mean, because it's a Second Amendment right, but if you're a felon, you can't own a firearm, right?
Correct.
So and if you are on particular drugs, say like SRIs or something like that, are you also not allowed to own a gun then?
No, that's not a problem.
So is there any drug, like pharmaceutical medication, that you can take that would also prevent you from able to be a firearm, or is cannabis just it?
The wording on the federal form in the United States is addicted to. And so to answer your question, if you're being prescribed something and you're not addicted to it, no, it wouldn't be a problem. But
Okay.
what they're basically saying here is that since cannabis is not a quote unquote drug, it's a Schedule 1, it's a not allowed. They're saying that it automatically makes it something that can basically erase your Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. It's
Wow.
crazy though. But
So it's not like this is unconstitutional. Then there is some precedent for it in some way.
This all was added in the early 70s on the war on drugs, the verbiage about cannabis on these forums within the Department of ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, put that verbiage in there back in the 1970s. But it was only done again to impugn people who were using cannabis on a regular basis. They were trying to basically make as many laws as they can. It's the same kind of thing that they did with the tax stamps of cannabis. Many states in the country had cannabis tax stamps that they could charge you with that. So basically, it's just a way to tack on more punishment on top of you. Oh, you use cannabis? Oh, and you have guns, so now we're going to put some more on you. And there's really no evidence that I know of out there that actually has documented that, okay, cannabis patients commit crimes X number of times more frequently with firearms than anybody else does. I don't think that that's actually been studied by anyone out there. And that would be way more informative than anything else right there. Okay, it says a footnote in the DOJ's brief also urges the Biden administration's ongoing move to reschedule cannabis would not undermine the current statute. The Justice Department has claimed in multiple federal cases over the past several years the statute banning cannabis consumers from owning and possessing guns is constitutional because it's consistent with the nation's history of disarming dangerous individuals. Oh, we're dangerous people.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they keep painting cannabis users here as being super evil. It's crazy.
Yeah, one day we should demand an apology for the way we've been fucking treated, the way they fucking speak to us, the bastards.
And yeah, if you get it, let me know. Put it down.
Yeah, good luck. I'll send you half. All right.
Okay, the government revived that argument in the latest briefs, asserting that illegal drug users can use firearms to commit crimes that fund their drug habit, to engage in violence as part of the drug business and culture, and to commit suicide. Anybody can do this. Why cannabis users? You know what I'm asking there? You know, it also contested the appellant's position that the ban should not apply to medical cannabis patients who are not actively impaired. The risks justify disarming unlawful drug users even between periods of drug intoxication, it said. So if you've ever used it, they don't want you to have a gun. There you go. Another point the DOJ raised had previously argued is that the idea that if the restriction on medical cannabis patients is found to be unconstitutional, it would cause a domino effect where the government would no longer be able to enforce gun restrictions on any users of controlled substances, including cocaine, fentanyl, and methamphetamines. That approach is plainly unworkable and would cast doubt on any of the longstanding provisions of federal law issues here. On the other side, attorneys for the medical cannabis patients who are challenging the constitutionality of the gun ban said in their brief that there is a clear distinction between a domestic violence case and the right of Rahimi and the rights of people who use cannabis in compliance with state laws to buy and possess firearms. In the former case, a person was convicted of shooting a gun, being subject to a restraining order, and continuing to face allegations of acts of violence, it said. The latter simply ingest cannabis in reliance with the state, the laws, and their doctor's recommendation, and Congress expresses protection of such action. There's no reasonable argument that can be historical or logical in which Rahimi's is law-abiding and responsible for the appellates are not. The brief said, yet Supreme Court did not declare Rahimi to be wholly excluded from the Second Amendment protections. The appellate also disputed the Justice Department's attempt to link historical laws barring people who are intoxicated or mentally ill from owning guns with those who use cannabis in a state legal market context. What about the drinkers and the drunks? Those guys, I'm more afraid of those guys than the stoners, to be honest with you. You know?
Oh, for sure. They mentioned the fentanyl and the heroin and all that stuff. Methamphetamine. I mean, I don't want gun. Yeah.
I don't want anybody. I mean, I've seen drunk people shoot before, and it scares the hell out of me. Anytime somebody.
Oh, no doubt.
I live in the deep South, and it's not uncommon to see drunk rednecks on the side of the riverbank, you're plinking at whatever. And as soon as I hear that, as soon as I see it, I'm out of there. I don't even stay around because it's just not safe.
I wouldn't either.
But
Wow.
I've never seen cannabis people do that. But I've seen it many, many times come up on the side of the river and ice chest is open, empty beer cans everywhere, and here comes the gun. It's just absolutely, it's crazy to me, man. But anyway, the article continues on, but the questions here are pretty basic. You know, medical cannabis users as a whole are pretty much peaceful people here, and they just want to be left alone. And I understand why this was made. These rules were made early on to try and make it so damning if you ever got caught using cannabis that you wouldn't want to use cannabis. But now we're sitting here. We've got hemp legal across the entire entire U.S. I mean, Hawaii and Alaska. Hemp is legal. THCA is legal, and there are places under the Farm Bill, and there are states where you can buy 26% THCA flower. That's cannabis, people. That's straight up cannabis.
And that's the good thing about them not knowing what the fuck they're doing is you can get away with that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
With that. It's totally legal to do that, but they're still saying that, oh, if you smoke cannabis, you can't have a gun. But what if I'm smoking hemp because you made that legal? Can I own a gun now? Mm-hmm. And that's not even in there. And if you say yes to that, then what's the difference of me smoking my cannabis and me smoking that hemp? Because it's all THCA. I don't get it, guys. It's very obvious here that the government has no idea what it's talking about. But it also looks to me very obvious here that every government agency who has been asked about cannabis has always referred it right back to the president and to Congress. They're basically saying, we're only following the laws as they're written, and we're not going to make any exceptions. And right now, I believe that that's what the Department of Justice is saying. This is right now the way the law is written. We are supposed to stop people who use cannabis from buying and possessing firearms. And basically what they're telling everybody here is, until that law changes, this is what we have to do. And no department of the government is going to go ahead and say, well, we're not going to listen to what we're supposed to do. We're just going to do this because it's the right thing to do. That's a great way to lose your job and to go to jail. So all of these people, they're actually just low men on the totem pole repeating what they've been told. That's unfortunate, but until this gets rescheduled and starts being issued as actual medicine, if it's rescheduled, all this changes. If it legalizes, all this changes. Yeah, it's one of those crazy things like that, though.
Yeah, just be careful out there, man. You don't want them taking your fucking guns because, you know, they're expensive, man.
You think?
Yeah, you know, I don't live in the USA, so I don't know. But from what I've seen, when people go to a gun store, they can spend a fucking hefty amount of money on one of those things.
Yeah, man. Quality arm, you're looking at thousands of dollars to get highest quality kind of things.
Yeah, seen some sniper rifle like 15 grand and shit. It's like, damn.
Yeah, and that's a little bit much for me. I don't play with that like that. But I do, you know, I do enjoy every now and then. It's been a very long time since I went plinking, but you know, I do enjoy that on occasion, as do many cannabis users. And we're not out there to be stupid or dangerous. And we damn well I'm not going to go rob anybody to quote unquote support my habit. That's so much bullshit, people.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds more like they're talking about the heroin and fentanyl users, not the plant users.
And then I don't think those people are really worried about the law. Like, oh, sorry, I best not take that gun because, you know, it's illegal. So, yeah, I don't think that's at the front of their mind at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What can you do, man? Crazy shit. Crazy. Let's see what happens here. I mean, are there people already in the USA who are having their guns taken from them because they're using cannabis for medicine? Has that happened?
Few and far between. I mean, one example that the article does talk about later on in the article is the whole Hunter Biden thing, because basically this is the law that got him. Yeah, you know, he purchased a gun, said he was not addicted to any controlled substances, and they got him for that for the crack cocaine situation like that.
And that was a lie.
Right, but they could basically put in, you know, I'm going to just make a bold statement. And I have no information to back this up, but I would guess that 50% of gun owners in this country have at one time or another smoked cannabis, at least just to try it. So that would mean that at least 50% of the American public who owns guns could have their guns taken away from them.
I was thinking it's real vague as well there with, you know, if you're addicted to something. And it's, what does addiction mean? How do you prove addiction? You know, are you supposed to lock the person up for a few days and see if they start twitching because they're not able to get hold of something and then be like, you're addicted, you shouldn't have bought that gun. You know, because they say addicted to cannabis, and there's lots of people who don't find cannabis addictive. Some people do. You know, there's cases of it. So it's just a little bit vague. You know, you expect the law to be on point and explain everything. So there's no room for maneuver. You know, there's no ambiguity. This is the line. Pay attention to it. So for them to be vague with something like that, that's a scary approach, because you know everybody's addicted to something. Like, oh, you're addicted to gambling. Let's take your guns away. You know,
right? Coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Yeah, that's it's a fucking good
100%.
example. Loads of people are addicted to coffee, don't even realize it. But if you don't drink a coffee tomorrow, say you don't drink coffee all day tomorrow, you got a fucking headache. That's because you are addicted to caffeine. So, you know, does that mean you're allowed to have firearms because you're addicted to a substance? It's very vague, scary, slippery slope to be getting on, I think.
Technically, I mean, an alcoholic would be addicted to alcohol and therefore never be allowed to own a firearm, you know, one of those situations like that. And I know I've never heard of a case to where they've actually gone to somebody who has gone through recovery and is a, you know, recovering alcoholic and has his gun taken away. I've never seen that before. But technically, you could say that a recovering alcoholic is still an addict, and you could technically take their guns away. Technically. Yeah. So it's a slippery slope. It's very scary, guys. And this is nobody wants to go here.
Yeah.
So
basically, the government does.
Well, the government, all of these departments of the government is basically, I think that they're just dumping all of this stuff right back into the hands of the president and the Congress, saying that until you fix this, this is all broken, and this is what we have to do. I mean, these departments have to follow the laws the way that they're written, and until they're rewritten, expect nothing different. So, unfortunate.
Interesting story. Let us know what you think about that one, everybody, in the comments, you know, after the video, and we'll upload this as a separate news story. Let us know what you think about this. You think this is crazy talk? Where do you see this going in the future? We want your opinion, so drop your opinion in the comments. That would be cool. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you for the full show on Sundays on youtube.com/high on homegrown. Thanks for watching.